Star Trek. The Next Generation made the smartest change to Starfleet's Delta badge. Few symbols in television history are as instantly recognizable as Starfleet's Delta badge. A simple arrowhead shape, clean and aspirational. It's become shorthand for Star Trek itself. You see that Delta and you immediately think of exploration, optimism, and humanity's better angels reaching for the stars. But what's fascinating is that the Delta badge didn't always mean what fans now assume it means. And Star Trek, The Next Generation quietly made a brilliant, franchise-defining change that fixed decades of visual and narrative confusion. It's one of those design decisions that doesn't call attention to itself. There's no line of dialogue explaining it. No episode pauses to say, by the way, this badge works differently now. And yet, it fundamentally reshaped how Starfleet functions on screen and how audiences understand the organization as a whole. The Delta badge was never originally universal. In Star Trek, the original series, the Delta insignia was not a Starfleet-wide emblem. This surprises many modern fans. But if you look closely, it's clear. Kirk, Spock, and the crew of the USS Enterprise wore the Delta badge, yes, but they were the exception, not the rule. Other Starfleet personnel wore entirely different symbols depending on their assignment. Starbase officers, for example, often had their own unique insignia. Even Constitution-class starships weren't always consistent. The Delta was essentially a unit patch, not a logo for the entire organization. It marked Enterprise crews specifically, much like a modern military unit insignia. That made sense within the loose, evolving world-building of 1960s television. Star Trek wasn't initially designed to become a decade-spanning franchise with obsessive fans freeze-framing uniforms. But as the universe expanded, through films, animated series, and eventually new live-action shows, that early inconsistency became a problem. The movie era tried to standardize, but only partway. The Star Trek movie era began the process of turning the Delta into something bigger. By Star Trek, the motion picture, the insignia had become more standardized across Starfleet, though variations still existed. By The Wrath of Khan, nearly everyone was wearing a Delta, now embedded in a rectangular badge that doubled as a rank indicator. This was a step in the right direction, but it still wasn't fully thought through. The Delta was becoming a symbol of Starfleet as a whole, but the franchise never quite committed to what it meant. Was it a logo? A rank device? A ship assignment marker? A communicator? Sometimes it was all of the above, which created its own confusion. Enter The Next Generation, which took a deceptively simple approach and nailed it. TNG's smartest decision. One badge, one meaning. Star Trek, The Next Generation made a single, elegant choice. The Delta badge is Starfleet's universal symbol, worn by everyone, everywhere. That's it. No exceptions. No ship-specific variants. No Starbase-only designs. If you're in Starfleet, you wear the Delta. This solved multiple problems at once. First, it immediately clarified Starfleet's identity. The organization now had a clear, unified emblem, akin to the Starfleet equivalent of a national flag. It didn't matter if you served on the Enterprise D, a Miranda-class science vessel, or a deep space outpost, you were part of the same service, under the same ideals. Second, it made Starfleet feel bigger and more institutional. TOS sometimes made Starfleet feel like a loose collection of starships operating semi-independently. TNG, by contrast, presents Starfleet as a massive, bureaucratic, galaxy-spanning organization. A single, standardized insignia reinforces that sense of scale and cohesion, separating rank from identity. Another quietly brilliant aspect of TNG's badge redesign was the separation of rank from the Delta itself. Rank moved to the collar pips, leaving the badge to represent identity rather than hierarchy. This was a massive improvement in visual storytelling. You could instantly tell who outranked whom by looking at their collars, without cluttering the badge with extra information. More importantly, the Delta no longer implied status. A cadet, an ensign, and a captain all wore the same symbol over their heart. That choice aligns perfectly with Star Trek's philosophy. Starfleet may have ranks, but everyone serves the same mission. The Delta becomes a unifying emblem rather than a mark of authority, turning the badge into a communicator. TNG also cemented another crucial change. The Delta badge is a communicator. Earlier versions of Star Trek treated communicators as separate handheld devices. TNG merged form and function. Tap the badge, and you're instantly connected. It's sleek, futuristic, and, most importantly, consistent. This change had enormous practical benefits for storytelling. Characters could communicate hands-free, mid-action, without breaking immersion. It also reinforced the idea that Starfleet technology is integrated, elegant, and designed around efficiency. But symbolically, it did something even smarter. The very emblem of Starfleet became the means by which its members stayed connected. The Delta isn't just what you wear, it's how you speak, listen, and coordinate. Starfleet quite literally communicates through its symbol, a visual shortcut for trust. Because TNG standardized the Delta badge, it became a visual shorthand for trust and legitimacy. When a character appears wearing that insignia, the audience immediately understands who they are and what they represent. This is especially important in a show as ethically complex as TNG. Episodes often hinge on whether Starfleet authority should be obeyed, questioned, or resisted. The Delta badge provides an immediate baseline. We know the ideals this character is supposed to embody, which makes it more impactful when those ideals are challenged or betrayed. Think of episodes involving corrupt admirals, rogue captains, or morally